Hello and welcome to India Business Hour. I'm Shireen Bhan. The headlines that we're tracking for you this evening. The Union Defence Secretary expects a 5 to 7.5% increase in capital outlay for the defence sector in the budget. Giridhar Armane promises that 45% of the government's defence orders will go to the private sector. He expects production in FY24 to cross 1.5 lakh crore rupees. That's a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. The Supreme Court declines to transfer the Adani-Hindenburg case to the CBI, gives SEBI 3 months to wrap up its probe in its entirety. The court says the report by third parties cannot be treated as conclusive proof. Adani Group stocks rally in trade. Weak global cues dragged the Wall Street lower. The sensex and the nifty declined by 1%, but the mid-cap outperformance continues with the index gaining over 100 points. Union Petroleum Minister Hardeep Puri says no discussion with oil marketing companies on fuel price cuts terms. Media reports a speculative adds that we are in a highly turbulent situation after attacks on ships going through the Suez Canal. Bajaj Auto shares hit a record high after the company says the board will consider a buyback in 5 days. Rajiv Bajaj tells CNBC TV 18 it would be logical to assume that any buyback would be higher than the 2,500 crore rupee exercise carried out by the company in 2022. The Union government is looking to streamline the visa process for Chinese nationals, say sources. Many companies approach the government citing difficulty in getting visas in both PLI and non-PLI sectors. Less than 30 days to go for the union budget. Inflation is likely to take centre stage. Sources say the government expects commodity prices to remain elevated this year, and managing prices is likely to be the big focus. A top Hamas leader assassinated in a suspected Israeli drone strike in Beirut. Israeli defense forces say they are prepared for any scenario after Hamas vows retribution. More than 22,000 Palestinians have been killed in Israeli strikes so far, as per the Hamas-run health ministry. Truckers call off protests after the government's assurance of the new hit-and-run law. Union Home Secretary says the clause that provides for up to a 10-year jail term has not been implemented yet, and a decision will be taken only after consultation with the Motor Transport Congress. Chinese automaker BYD sells more electric cars than Tesla in the last quarter of 2023, but Tesla still manages to sell more EVs than BYD for the whole of 2023. For the first time, Elon Musk's SpaceX will launch an ISRO satellite. ISRO's commercial arm will launch the GSAT-20 on board a Falcon 9 rocket in the second half of 2024. Well, we'll get to rockets in just a bit, but let's start with the market action for the day. Weak global cues dragging the Wall Street lower, with both the Sensex and the Nifty losing about 1%. So we saw the Sensex down over 500 points, and the Nifty lost nearly 150 points. The Nifty IT index was down by about 2.5%, so that saw some sharp profit booking as well. But the mid-cap outperformance continued, with the mid-cap 100 closing almost 0.5% higher, bucking the trend once again, ending in the green. Let's talk about crude oil prices now. Remain steady as concerns about the US economy have outweighed fears of a potential supply disruption from ongoing tensions in the Red Sea. And back home, oil marketing companies clocked sharp gains after Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri said that there is no proposal as of now to cut fuel prices. The minister added that media reports of a discussion with oil marketing companies on price cuts are speculative. Take a look.
First of all these media reports were not only speculative, but I would also turn around and say slightly mischievous. I have clarified there has been no discussion with the oil marketing companies on any such issue. And please, we are in a highly turbulent situation.
Highly turbulent situation. So perhaps, as we've been reporting, the government may review a possible fuel price cut. That decision has not been taken. Of course, we will have to see what political call eventually does take place. Now, the crisis in the Red Sea continues to simmer, keeping crude oil prices elevated. Minister Puri cited the attacks on vessels passing through the Suez Canal, calling it a highly turbulent situation. Now, the Indian Navy has deployed warships and aircraft to the region and has enhanced surveillance to ensure the safety of merchant shipping. Minister Puri also said that India is confident of dealing with the situation in the Red Sea. Take a look.
Yes, there is concern. But are we confident of handling it? Absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, in the last few days, in 10, 12 days, and please correct me, As a result of this, suddenly the prices of crude started going up. And then when the full facts came, I think the market has absorbed that. There will be an impact. But is it an impact on the Indian oil and gas sector? No. I want to give you full confidence. Neither what happened yesterday or day before or earlier. We are absolutely, we'll deal with all these situations.
Well, that is the government's view on the situation in the Red Sea. But here's the latest in the war in Gaza. Over 22,000 Palestinians have been killed in the last 3 months. This as per the Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza. Israel has hit the southern city of Khan Yunis with continuous shelling and airstrikes of residential areas on the eastern side. A senior Hamas official was assassinated in a suspected Israeli drone strike in southern Beirut. Israel's defense forces say they are prepared for any scenario after Hamas vowed retribution. Lebanese militant group Hezbollah has said that the attack, which also killed at least 6 people, will not go unanswered. And tensions in the region are running high. There are fears that the war in Gaza could spill over to other areas. Amidst this backdrop, we're now receiving reports that more than 70 people have been killed in 2 explosions in Iran. The incident occurred at an event honoring Iran's top military commander, Qasem Soleimani, who was killed in a U.S. drone attack in 2020. So reports coming in of explosions in Iran. But the top story back home, the Supreme Court has declined to transfer the Adani-Hindenburg case to the CBI. The apex court has given market regulator SEBI 3 more months to conclude its ongoing investigations in the matter. Now, a 3-judge bench led by Chief Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has allowed SEBI to assess any violations of norms by the Hindenburg report. Remember, the US-based short seller had accused the Adani Group of stock manipulation in January of last year. Ashmit is standing by with the details. Ashmit, take us through the key takeaways from the judgment delivered by D.Y. Chandrachud.
Well, fresh out of the winter break, the Supreme Court dived straight into the midst of action, coming out with the much-awaited verdict in the Adani-Hindenburg saga. Here are the important takeaways. Number 1, the Supreme Court records in its judgment that SEBI had launched 24 cases of investigations into issues raised by the Hindenburg report. The Supreme Court records that out of 24, probe has been completed in 22. The Supreme Court has directed for the remaining 2 to be completed in 3 months' time. The 22 probes which have been completed, Supreme Court has directed for them to be taken to their logical conclusion. Number 2, the petitioners had sought for the issue to be investigated by the CBI. They had also sought for a court-appointed SIT to probe the allegations. The Supreme Court has given an unequivocal no. The Supreme Court held that no case has been made out for transfer to the CBI. The Supreme Court also recorded in its order that report by third parties like Hindenburg and OCCRP cannot be treated as gospel truth. Number 3, the petitioners had raised allegations of conflict of interest against members of the expert committee appointed by the top court. The Supreme Court has rejected these claims by the petitioners. The Supreme Court held that no case of conflict of interest has been made out. Number 4, on the issue of regulatory framework, the Supreme Court noted that as opposed to petitioners' claims that FPI norms were diluted to allow mischief, the disclosure norms were rather tightened. The Supreme Court held that no grounds were made out for revocation of the amendments made to the FPI and LODR regulations. The Supreme Court has also directed the Centre and SEBI to consider the expert committee recommendations for strengthening the regulatory framework. And finally, number 5, Supreme Court has directed SEBI to probe short selling by the likes of Hindenburg. The Supreme Court has directed to probe if actions by Hindenburg may be in violation of Indian laws. The Supreme Court has also asked for suitable action in case of violations of existing regulations. Now, while findings of the SEBI investigations are not known yet, leading legal voices are pitching this verdict as an exoneration for Adani, given that no criminal probe has been directed by the top court.
Supreme Court has given a vote of affirmation to the functionality of SEBI as also to the regulatory mechanism. Clearly, the report of SEBI has to have precedence over any private reports. It is important that when private investigations come, that those may be looked at. But since SEBI has now, I would say, put a quietus to the whole issue, the matter stands resolved.
SEBI investigation, as I said, 22 out of 24 instances is complete. The remaining 2 will be completed in the next 3 months. But as far as the court judgment is concerned, it clearly said does not warrant any criminal investigation, including that of CBI. And it trusted SEBI to do its own investigation. So according to me, it is exoneration of the Adani Group, because they have been saying that we have done nothing wrong. This Hindenburg is a malicious body which is only interested in its own profits. That's about all. So once the Supreme Court has said that no other investigation is required, if they had been guilty of some misdemeanors, the court would have ordered some criminal investigation, but that has not been ordered.
Well, that is the Supreme Court's verdict in the Adani-Hindenburg matter. Now 3 months more to the market regulator to complete its probe in its entirety. The stock's rallying on the back of that. On to CNBC TV 18 exclusive. India's defence production is likely to cross 1.5 lakh crore rupees, says Union Defence Secretary Giridhar Armane, speaking exclusively to my colleague Parikshit Ludhra. The Defence Secretary says that 45% of orders will go to the private sector. He's also added that he expects the capital outlay for the sector to increase by 5 to 7.5%. When asked about potential disinvestment, the Secretary said that government will pare its stake in BML, but at an opportune time, suggesting that perhaps we could see further delays. Also adding that talks are on with Nigeria to export Tejas fighter jets manufactured by Hindustan Aeronauticals. Take a look.
At the current level, the private sector will be taking 40 to 45% of the total orders. It may not reflect on our statistics, as we will show the contract-wise quantity. But ultimately, many subsystems, many components, many spares are being manufactured by private industry and the MSMEs mostly. We will wait for an opportune moment. Right now, BEML has got a major task on their hand. Once they complete it, they will reach a level where their share price will reach new heights. We are waiting for an opportune time to do that. We don't want to shortchange our family silver for immediate gains. We are in discussion with the Department of Public Asset Management.
Well, you can catch the full interview with the Defence Secretary Giridhar Armane at 9:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV 18. Now, India's manufacturing activity softened to an 18-month low in December. This as per the HSBC Purchasing Managers Index. The manufacturing PMI down to 54.9 versus 56 in November. This was largely due to slow growth of output and a lack of new orders. However, despite the decline, the measure of manufacturing sector activity has remained above the threshold of 50, which indicates expansion. This has been maintained for the 30th straight month. The latest in the Wipro versus Jatin Dalal saga. Bengaluru court has now referred the IT firm's 25 crore lawsuit against their former CFO to arbitration. This essentially means that Jatin Dalal's counter-petition can be admitted as well. Wipro had sued Dalal, accusing him of violating the non-compete clause in his employment contract by joining rival Cognizant within 12 months from his last day of work. Dalal left Wipro in November and joined Cognizant in December. Now, Japan's Sumitomo Wiring Systems is planning to sell its 14% stake in Samvardhana Motherson. This as per Money Control. Sumitomo has appointed Nomura reportedly to handle the stake sale. The deal is likely to take place in the price range of 110 to 120 rupees a share and could be worth over 10,000 crore rupees. CNBC TV 18 reached out to the companies for a comment. Haven't got one so far. Steelmaker Shyam Metallics has launched a qualified institutional placement with a base issue of 1,152 crore rupees. Sources have told us that the indicative price for the QIP set at 576 rupees a share, which is a discount of 3.6% to SEBI's floor price. Now, Bajaj Auto shares hitting a lifetime high in trade. This after announcing that the company's board will discuss a buyback on the 8th of January. Speaking to CNBC TV 18, Bajaj Auto's managing director Rajiv Bajaj said that the company looks to give back over 70% to investors whenever the cash on books crosses 15,000 crore rupees. This is their policy. He also mentioned that he expects to end FY24 with 20,000 crore rupees in cash, and hence it would be logical to assume that this buyback would be higher than the 2,500 crore rupee exercise the company carried out in 2022.
We are generating far more than we need to invest. And finally, our dividend policy, which is a public document, clearly states that whenever we have in excess of 15,000 crores sitting on our books, we would like to give away anything more than 70% of that through a combination of dividend, buyback, etc. And last year we did give away, I think we gave away more than 100%. So I think we're going to just simply stay true to the dividend policy.
Well, that's Bajaj Auto on its buyback. Now, Vedanta Resources has received the consent from bondholders to restructure 4 series of bonds worth $3.2 billion. These series of bonds include 2 bonds of $1 billion each, and these are due to mature in 2024. The third bond worth $1.2 billion is due in 2025. The fourth bond worth $600 million is due in 2026. Amidst a tussle for Relegate's largest shareholder, the Berman family has called on market regulator SEBI to investigate the allotment of 8% shares in Religare Finvest to the conglomerate's chairperson, Rashmi Saluja. Terming the allotment through ESOPs as unfortunate, the Berman family said the process has raised a question mark on the management and the independence of independent directors. Remember, the board led by Saluja has stated that the Bermans are unfit to take over the financial services company. The Bermans have accused Saluja of insider trading. The union government is looking to streamline the visa process for Chinese nationals. Sources say the government is looking to make visa processes easier for companies that are expanding manufacturing capacity in India. Many companies approach the government citing difficulty in getting visas in both PLI and non-PLI sectors. As the countdown to the budget begins, sources tell us that inflation is going to be a big focus for the government. Timsy joins us now with the details. Timsy, we do have an interim budget coming up. What are you picking up from your sources? What could the thrust largely be?
As top government gets in full swing to prepare the upcoming interim budget, sources say that as proposals reach the drawing board, managing inflation is likely to be the big focus. Sources further say that the government is concerned over high commodity prices and expects them to remain elevated this year too. Also bothering the government is fertilizer prices, which they feel is unlikely to give any relief. Apart from these, weather-related events could create more challenges for food items as well. Prices of vegetables such as tomato, onion, commodities such as wheat, rice, pulses are an area of concern which will remain to be on the top watch list of the government. Sources say that the current fiscal GDP and export targets will be revised, factoring in the economic fallout of Red Sea crisis, which is likely to have a decent impact. So let's see how the government manages these challenges while putting out the interim budget, which will be announced on the 1st of February. Back to you.
Many thanks, Timsy. And speaking of the budget, it's less than 30 days away. What's your wish list for the Finance Minister? Presenting the CNBC TV 18 budget ballot box. Coming to a hotspot near you, we will place these ballot boxes at popular public spots like malls, colleges, theatres and others across major cities. We'll also be asking newsmakers who drop into our studios for their budget wish list. So come join us and tell us what your top budget wish is from the Finance Minister. Drop your wish list at a CNBC TV 18 budget ballot box near you. We'll combine them and present them to the Finance Minister before she presents the union budget. Well, let's talk aviation now. CASA Air is on the brink of closing an order for around 150 Boeing 737 MAX narrow-body planes. As we've been reporting, negotiations are underway and a deal announcement is expected at the Wings India event to be held later this month. Remember, the airline CEO Vinay Dubey had told CNBC TV 18 just last month that ACASA would announce a 3-digit aircraft order in a few weeks. Shares of Apple dropped after Barclays downgraded the stock to underweight. In a note, Barclays has cited that it expects demand weakness to persist in 2024 after the company's iPhone 15 witnessed lackluster sales, specifically in China. The agency has also cut its price target on the stock from $161 to $160, indicating a 17% decline over the year. Let's shift focus now to changing EV landscape. Despite delivering a record number of vehicles in the Q4, Tesla has lost its spot as the top EV maker by sales to China's BYD. Tesla delivered over 480,000 vehicles, while BYD, which manufactures both hybrid and electric cars, sold over 520,000 EVs in the quarter. The sales indicate China's growing presence in the EV sector, and buyers are looking at cheaper models. Up next on India Business Hour, for the first time, Elon Musk, SpaceX will launch an ISRO satellite. ISRO's commercial arm will launch the GSAT-20 on board a Falcon 9 rocket in the second half of 2024. Catch CNBC TV 18's news and updates on Facebook, X, Threads, Instagram and JioCinema. While in international news, the death toll after the earthquake in Japan has now risen to 62, with most deaths in cities of Suzu and Wajima. Rescuers continue to dig through the debris as they battle aftershocks and rough weather. Claudine Gay, the president of Harvard University, has resigned amid plagiarism claims and a backlash over anti-Semitism. She was the first black president at Harvard but managed to serve only for 6 months. This makes her stint the shortest in the university's 388-year history. Truckers have called off protests after the government's assurance on the new hit-and-run law. The government has said that the law has not yet been implemented and a decision will be taken on its implementation after consultation with the Motor Transport Congress. As per Section 106, subsection 2 of the new Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, if a death has been caused by negligent driving and the driver fails to alert the police, it will attract imprisonment of up to 10 years and a fine of 7 lakh rupees. However, if the driver does report the death, imprisonment will be reduced to 5 years. Truck drivers have been protesting against the law, expressing concerns about backlash from the mob and potential lynching if they don't flee the accident spot. The two-day protest has led to massive queues outside of fuel stations in several cities as people resorted to panic buying amidst fears of a supply shortage. Legal experts that we've been speaking to say that the concerns raised by truckers are genuine, as mob lynching is a common phenomena. They are calling for consultation before laws are passed and implemented. Take a look.
Mob lynching does happen, and it is known to happen particularly in India. So the fear of the truckers that is being expressed appears to be genuine. The question is, will it meet within the statute or not is one of the questions. So I think a consultation in this regard which the government has put out is a very fair thing, as long as we are able to cover it in this situation. You can't say one person's health or one person's life against the concern of even a person who's actually had the accident. Either he was guilty, not guilty, that's another question altogether.
Trucks are one of the major movement because trains don't go everywhere, flights don't go anywhere. So the roads are the major mover. And the fact is, while this government has done a fair bit to get the national highways and the state highways in shape, that is an ongoing process until we have adequate safety and ensured on the roads, not only for the persons who are victims of accidents, but also the truck drivers who themselves sometimes become victims of accidents because of the road conditions and the climate conditions and other limitations as a result of road management. So these issues will have to be addressed across the board.
Now, for the first time, Elon Musk SpaceX will launch an ISRO satellite. ISRO's commercial arm will launch the GSAT-20 on board a Falcon 9 rocket in the second half of 2024. Archana standing by now with the details. Archana, so ISRO dialing Elon Musk.
Thank you, Shireen. Yes, Elon Musk and ISRO. Now, this collaboration has sparked a lot of excitement in the first week of 2024 itself. The big update is that ISRO's commercial arm, NSIL, has chosen the world's richest man, Elon Musk's space company, SpaceX. This to launch its heavy communication satellite GSAT-20 into the orbit using the Falcon 9 rocket. The liftoff is likely to take place in the second half of 2024 from Florida this year. GSAT-20 is a 4,700 kg communication satellite built by ISRO to enhance broadband connectivity in remote regions, including the Andaman Nicobar and Lakshadweep Islands. Now, what is the Falcon 9 rocket? It's the world's first orbital class reusable rocket. Now, reusable rockets save money on space missions because for decades, launching into space meant sacrificing a rocket. Now, this rocket, Falcon 9, is designed to launch astronauts and payloads into the Earth's orbit and even to Mars. To date, it has undertaken 285 launches, 243 landings and 217 reflights. Now, why is India collaborating with Elon Musk? That's because the GSAT-20 satellite is too heavy for ISRO's most powerful rocket launcher. Now, India's powerful rocket launcher can only carry a mass of 4,000 kgs into the orbit, whereas Falcon 9 can carry 25,000 kilograms. Previously, India was using the France-led Ariane Space Consortium to launch its communication satellites weighing 4 tons or more. Back to you.
All right, Archana, so that is the reason why ISRO is using Elon Musk's Falcon rocket to launch its GSAT satellite. Now, Ayodhya is gearing up for the inauguration of the Ram Temple on the 22nd of January. The city has already undergone a major facelift with a new airport, a revamped railway station and beautified roads. The Ayodhya Development Authority expects a footfall of 3 lakh tourists every day in the initial months. India's top hotel chains are eyeing the massive tourism opportunity in the temple town. However, the accommodation of guests poses a problem at the moment given the supply-demand situation. Shivani Bajaj reports from Ayodhya on how authorities are planning to tackle the mismatch.
Well, all roads are leading to Ayodhya as the much-anticipated Ram Mandir will be inaugurated on January 22nd. The authorities expect 3 lakh plus devotees to come to Ayodhya on a daily basis after the inauguration. And hence, a surge in demand for the accommodation has led to hotel chains eyeing Ayodhya in a big way.
Almost all major hotel industry partners or players have approached us, and they are trying to buy land or get into a kind of a collaboration with people who have properties here. And so as Oberoi and Taj and Hyatt and Orchid and Daffodils and Radisson, to name few. And many of them have also started their operation, as you have seen. And Radisson is the first 5-star hotel of the city. And all of them, others also, they have applied for approval of maps. They are purchasing land at their kind of suitable locations as per their demand. And Taj also is probably under construction. They are also coming up with 2 more properties as Taj Lemon Tree and some other options that they have in different categories.
The city is not exactly ready to host so many people yet. Tour operators in the city told CNBC TV 18 that there is a massive surge in international bookings from NRIs to the international guests from February onwards, and the accommodation is a problem area at the moment in the city. So the authorities have been pushing for the homestay model for the last few months. These homestays have been identified and registered by the Tourism Department as well as the Ayodhya Development Authority. And many locals are partnering with the authorities to onboard their homes for the homestay model.
Homestays to the hotel's rescue. And with that, it is time for us to wrap up this edition of India Business Hour. There'll be plenty more that Shivani will bring you from Ayodhya on our special series. Thanks very much for watching. The news continues right here on CNBC TV 18. We're back in a moment.